Christmas Eve 2004, my sister and I were gifted a PlayStation 2, and as I'm sure you've guessed, the game we got with it was Carmen Sandiego and the Secret of the Stolen Drums. I have no idea how this is the game we ended up with, though my sister did actually beat it at some point, but it's almost been 20 years so I can barely remember anything. So I figured, let's give this game another try and see how it holds up. Carmen Sandiego was originally a text-based adventure series, where you would travel the world and try to catch the infamous criminal and her henchmen. They also had a TV show where contestants would answer geography-related questions to win prizes, as well as a cartoon series. And Stolen Drums seems like it was their attempt to reboot their franchise and make it more modern and cool, and it takes on a comic-style aesthetic. It was developed and published by BAM Entertainment. Their first game was Transformers Beast Wars for the N64, which is a notoriously terrible game, and they kept going until 2005 when they shut their doors. This was their third last game ever. As the game begins, we're told about some drums that contain a map to a wacky jewel that contains the knowledge of all countries, whatever that means. Then we cut to Cole, our protagonist, being reprimanded by his boss. And I immediately notice that the main protagonist is voiced by the same actor who voices Sly Cooper.
Well, I guess this is it.
And he's basically doing the same voice here, and that's no coincidence. This fucking game wants to be Sly Cooper so bad. It's got motion comic style cutscenes, a big globe-trotting adventure, jumping across rooftops, a lot of stealth, a lot of platforming based gameplay, combat with a cane. This game does one thing that the Sly games thankfully don't. You have to sneak up on most of the enemies that you fight. They're these robots that block every single attack you do unless you sneak up on them, and it makes the game really boring. It also feels a lot more clunky than Sly does. Like here, I try to climb a ladder, but Cole only turns in like a circular arc, so it makes it super awkward to move around. Look at how Sly turns. It's immediate and snappy. Look at how fast Sly climbs stuff. Now look at Cole climbing a ladder. Fucking riveting. Look at Sly jumping onto a tightrope and crossing it quickly. Now look at Cole. It's slow, sluggish, clunky, and far more linear than any of the Sly games. The freedom to the combat that Sly has is so much fun, and the amount of moves makes it such a blast to play. It's punchy, it's satisfying, and the comic style automatopoeia looks great. But in this game, I mean, look at this shit. I want to approach this stupid robot and smack him, but he keeps spotting me. You have to walk quietly so they don't hear you, but as soon as they lose line of sight, they forget where you are. They're not much of a threat either, so it's not intense, it's just annoying. Also, this game forces you to do boring puzzles, which is epic. I like puzzles, but only when it's, you know, at least a little interesting. This shit just sucks. You have a limited amount of moves that you can do. You can press circle to see the solution, but each time you check, you spend a move to do so. It controls kind of awkwardly. You gotta select the spot you want to fill in and then select the piece you want. And it led me to select the wrong pieces a lot on accident. We'll come back to the puzzles more though. They're fucking lame as shit. Like Simon Says, awesome, great. There's also a lot of sections where it forces you to defeat all the robots in almost every area they appear because you need their codes to open new areas. You get one number per robot you defeat, and then you have to see this stupid cutscene every time you complete it. And one time I destroyed the last robot, but I didn't get the code, so I kept running around aimlessly looking for another robot. So I had to restart the game and replay the last 20 minutes, which was fun. And it turns out that only some of the robots give you a piece of the code with no indication that this is the case, so I had to head back to the first two warehouses and destroy one of the robots there. Also, you gotta love how slowly Cole climbs to the other side of this pipe. Oops, I fell, gotta do it again. Teehee, fucking... Eventually you start fighting monsters, and the combat here at least lets you take them on without having to stealth. But my god, does it feel empty. The hit sounds are so light and quiet, they might as well not even be there. The designs of the monsters are okay, I guess, but really not memorable. The camera also tends to get stuck on things a lot. I mean, this was a pretty common issue with early 3D platformers, but by 2004, it's a lot less excusable. And with the game being so boring and janky, it just makes it even more annoying. As I get further into the game, Cole's slow turning speed just gets more and more irritating. He turns so slow in the air too, which makes it very easy to miss your jump, or if you try to correct a jump mid-air. So I get to the first boss boss fight, the air spirit. It's very annoying because it keeps pushing you away and towards it, and it just feels really janky. You have to shoot 3 spots that light up, and it just sucks. After the boss is defeated, I wander around being completely confused. Turns out you gotta go back into the rest of the level. This looks so small, like how am I supposed to know this is a door? The game is so damn boring to play. The levels that are more open are just confusing and disorienting, and the more linear levels are so uninteresting I find it hard to say anything about them, outside of how fucking slow the pacing feels. So we keep following Carmen, disobeying our boss, and traveling the world. Carmen always leaves some sort of hint as to where she's gone to. I guess they're trying to make it feel like the original game in the franchise, but it's just really silly in context. In the Sly games, as you sneak through areas, the levels flow so well. The jumps feel so good, it's easy to turn, and the way he'll only climb and such when you press circle makes it so easy to control when and where you want to climb or walk on tight ropes or whatever it is. That and the music in the background is incredible. The soundtrack in this game, however, is so uninteresting. I don't even know if there's more than like 5 songs in this game. The game also makes you do some tight jumps between lasers, and in Sly this will be so damn easy, but because of Cole's stupid mid-air turning speed, it's just so much more annoying. At this point I was just losing my patience too, so it really wasn't helping things. You also have to take out security cameras in some areas, but they can be really hard to spot. This one place had 2 cameras across from each other. I took out one but didn't see the other. I got caught 3 times before I realized where it was. Also, there's these pigeons that will fly away if you walk close to them, and it'll alert the robots. They're everywhere, and it only serves to make the combat slightly more annoying. Honestly, the only part of the combat I enjoy is when you're lucky enough to take out 2 robots at once, and it's only because it saves you time. One good thing I can say about the game is that the variety of environments is pretty good, and the comic book style cutscenes look fairly good. That's it, that's the positives. Also, Cole looks like fucking Goku from Dragon Ball Evolution. In the Tibet stage, there's this awful platform section where you have to land on these logs or whatever. Thankfully your character does kind of like magnetize to it, so it's not impossible to land on, but comparing it to a similar platforming section in Sly, it's not even close. Because of how Sly will stick to anything with a blue glow on it when you press circle, you can be completely confident when you'll land and when you won't. Here you just jump and hope for the best, and some surfaces can be slippery too. It just feels terrible. The second boss fight is fucking annoying. You'd think the blue shock waves are what damages you, but I don't even know if that's the case. It just feels like you take damage from being close, and sometimes I try to hit the boss, and while I hit them I also take damage, and other times I try to hit the boss and I immediately try to get away from him after that, and then I still take damage. You have to stand at the perfect distance to hurt him without getting hurt yourself. Once he's taken 3 hits, he splits into little shitheads that you gotta try to kill. I can't explain how tired I got of these stupid robots towards the end. I wish I could just smash them up. This forced stealth is so lame, and sometimes when I try to sneak up on them, my camera gets stuck and it just wastes a lot of time. And I also just got tired of the bleeps every time a character would send you a voice message. I don't want to listen to anything they have to say, but you have to press select to make it shut up. Holy shit, I'm just like all over the place. Like, I just finished beating the game now that I'm recording this, and I'm fucking mentally exhausted. So we get to the final level, do another Simon Says puzzle, which is fucking awesome. Fight a really easy boss, and then the temple begins to crumble. Carmen steals the diamond, but Cole almost falls to his death. Carmen saves him and takes him to a safe place before taking off. The game ends with a little hint towards a possible sequel, which we thankfully never got. So yeah, this game isn't the worst I've ever played, but it's slow, tedious, and not worth playing. It's funny to think that this was my first PS2 game. This shit sucks, and I'm never playing it again. It's so boring. It's just like, holy shit. What an exhausting game to play. Fuck, man. Well, I spent like 6 hours on this shit. What am I doing with my life?